Carnegie was deeply into the restructuring of American education, using David Hornbeck to go down, first of all, to Kentucky. And that was for a school to work, totally. I mean, Hornbeck, who was involved right from the beginning, putting in the school to work agenda, which I was, it's like Cuba, the quota system for jobs and all, working with the government industry. He said in a book, Human Capital, that with Lester Solomon, he wrote that book, he said, the corporations don't want well-educated people. Well-educated people give us too much trouble, they quit their jobs and all, so don't forget that. Next time you hear that the corporations are upset about no basic skills and all, that's not true. They want people, cookie-cutter, button-pushing people, period. That's it. And so, anyway, we'll go back to that's the frog, okay? Gradualism. And morality, too. We keep falling off the cliff more and more and more with the values clarification, but we'll get into that. The next thing, what's called the dialectic. The next thing. The dialectic is you have the thesis and the antithesis and the synthesis in the middle. The thesis is it's wrong to steal. The antithesis is okay. Okay, you keep talking about it, have all these meetings in our communities, get the community involved, we're all going to discuss this stuff together, and you end up, let's say it's wrong to steal drugs for your sick mother. It's wrong. No, after all the discussion, you come to the middle. It's okay sometimes. Because she's sick. She's going to die. So you can steal when she's going to die, huh? Okay, so you keep moving closer and closer, you finally fall right off the cliff, you have no morals left at all. And this could apply to homosexuality or murder or anything. I mean, look, if you have a father that you don't like, who's been beating you up ever since you were 2 years old or other things, whatever, really, I'm sure that you really think it's okay to kill him. You can justify that in your mind, and that is what has happened to all of the sick character education, values education programs in this country, which try to base their curriculum on character education, to base it on a system that has no relationship whatsoever to Christianity. Right? You can't do it. It doesn't work. And we have all these children, these sad kids running around in trouble. Even if they're not in trouble, look at their faces. They're tragic. They can't read, they can't write, they can't talk, they can't smile. So we've done that. Okay. So then that's the dialectic. I hope people understand what the dialectic really is. One example of it, this probably is the best because it's funny. When I came back to the United States, after I got married, after we had 2 children, and I was doing the laundry for my husband one day. He was white shirts. I put a red sweater in with his white shirts by mistake. This is what you talk about. You decide what you want. How are you going to get it? You create the problem, and then you give the people the solution you want. Okay? And they do it every day. The change agents. How are they going to get education moved from the local level to the state level? Create the problem. Old people scream because the taxes are so high. Then they come in and say, oh, well, we'll move education funding from the local to the state. That's what they wanted all along. Everybody says fine. But anyway, to make you understand, so I do that. My husband says, okay, you're never going to do laundry again, not for me. Now, say I didn't want to do laundry in the beginning. Mm-hmm. That's the way I ended up never having to do laundry again for any of the men in my family. Because the boys knew what I'd done. Mm-hmm. And so, Mom, don't worry about it. We'll do our own laundry. So, you figure out what it is I never had that plan in my mind, but I've always remembered that because it worked. Mm-hmm. And had I not wanted to do laundry ever again, that would have been the perfect plan. Put a red sweater in with a man's white shirts. All the shirts are pink. They get upset and they say, you don't have to do laundry anymore. So that is also the dialectic. Okay. Then you have semantic deception. Everybody must know it. Semantic means fake, false, lying, etc. So they use words that mean one thing to the parents, like basic skills. They think reading, writing, arithmetic, basic skills. No. Basic skills do not mean that anymore. Basic skills are anything's okay, right? The U.S. Constitution is outmoded. We have to go along with the rest of the world. We all have to get along. We have to give up the Constitution. That's a basic skill. Global education would be involved in basic skills. So that's semantic deception. Decision making, that's a really good one. Because I remember when I got rid of the values clarification as a school board member, that night when I got even the liberals to go with me, the superintendent called me the next day and he said, Charlotte, this is the change agent superintendent out of Harvard, would you mind if we put in a program in decision making? And I said, oh, I wish I could look in your beautiful blue eyes, because you know that's exactly the same thing. And that was the last I heard of that. So if your superintendent tells the board, you're on a board, and he comes and he says, we really ought to help the kids in making decisions. Doesn't that sound innocent? And if you take a stand against it, everybody's community is going to say, what's wrong with Charlotte Iserbyt? She doesn't want kids to be able to make decisions? Well, decision making is values clarification. And values clarification is values destruction. Okay, that's semantic deception. You can apply it to all sorts of words. George Orwell knew very well what it was. George Bush really knows. So he gives us an act after 9/11 which takes away all of our freedoms under the Bill of Rights. And what's he call it? The Patriot Act. He puts in an initiative now to screen all children for mental problems, and he calls it, in the schools, the Freedom Initiative. Well, I mean, really, it is hard to believe that this is going on, and people are not questioning this. I mean, the use of words, I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And patriot, I mean, we're no longer, you're not a patriot, I'm not a patriot. Anybody who opposes this administration's agenda is being carefully monitored and watched. I mean, Patrick Henry would have been a perfect candidate for Guantanamo. Really. It's sad. And then the American people are just letting this go by. So anyway, so we went through the frog, the gradualism, we've been through the dialectic, we've been through semantic deception. Of course, you have big bucks. And, the Federal Reserve, endless amounts of money.
Printed out of nothing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Printed out of absolutely nothing. And I'm trying to think of what the other one was. I can't think of it right at the moment. But it's been a plan. You've been victimized. And there's no wonder that the American people have sort of gone down as far as having any desire to understand what's going on. They've been conditioned. The media, of course, is one of the prongs of the fork, too. By the media, they've been conditioned to believe anything they hear on the nightly news. And even though they may say, oh, well, I don't think I agree with that, but you have to remember that when something is every night beamed into the house the same message, even though you may say you sort of don't agree with it, it's in there. It's in your head. You've been conditioned. So the next time the subject comes up, if someone in the room disagrees with it, you're probably not going to take a stand against it because you've been pretty conditioned to accept it. I mean, look at us, 4th of July, magnificent Independence Day from the British. Look at the people out on the street. What are they marching around for with American flags? I mean, this is so sad because we're not independent from anybody anymore. We're in a one-world government. China controls us. I mean, if China pulled the plug, what would we do? I mean, look at the deficit, trade deficit. China controls us. We're controlled all over the world. The Middle East, oil. Look at. I mean, if people don't see this, the cost of oil right now. George Bush told us 4 years ago, oil's going to flow, everything's going to be. No, we have no independence whatsoever, and we're not meant to, because my book will tell you all about that. All the chapters, the entries in there are quotes going back 100 years that we've got to get rid of independence. We shouldn't have sovereignty any longer. We have to become part of this collectivist world government. For discussion, you come to the middle. It's okay sometimes. Because she's sick. She's going to die. So you can steal when she's going to die. Huh? Okay, so you keep moving closer and closer. You finally fall right off the cliff. You have no morals left at all. And this could apply to homosexuality or murder or anything. I mean, look, if you have a thought, Carnegie was deeply into the restructuring of American education, using David Hornbeck to go down, first of all, to Kentucky. And that was for a school to work, totally. I mean, Hornbeck, who was involved right from the beginning, putting in the school to work agenda, which I was, it's like Cuba, the quota system for jobs and all, working with the government industry. A cookie cutter, button pushing people, period. That's it. And so, anyway, we'll go back to that's the frog, okay? Gradualism. And morality, too. We keep falling off the cliff more and more and more with the values clarification, but we'll get into that. The next thing, what's called the dialectic. The next thing. The dialectic is you have the thesis and the antithesis and the synthesis in the middle. He said in a book, Human Capital, with Lester Solomon, he wrote that book, he said, the corporations don't want well-educated people. Well-educated people give us too much trouble, they quit their jobs and all, so don't forget that. Next time you hear that the corporations are upset about no basic skills and all, that's not true. They want people cook. The thesis is it's wrong to steal. The antithesis is okay. Okay, you keep talking about it, have all these meetings in our communities, get the community involved, we're all going to discuss this stuff together, and you end up, let's say it's wrong to steal drugs for your sick mother. It's wrong. No, after all,